All right, my friends, welcome. It's
Open forum
another open forum Thursday
Thursday.
where we spend time with you to go over the things that are near and dear to your heart. Of course, this week we've got a special guest. We're going to go over something I hope that's near and dear to people's hearts.
It will be by the end of the show.
Oh, most certainly. So what you want to do is you want to share this start now. All right. I was experimenting with a new way to come on. It collapsed. It failed.
That's
It
what
was
that
a
was.
failure.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
If it was a supersonic jet flight, the wings would have broke off.
Although all great inventions start off that way, no one is successful at the first try. You know, there's a famous quote. I don't know if Michael Jordan actually said it or they just attribute it to him, but he failed 99 times. It was Michael Jackson or Einstein. I don't know. Or Michael Jordan. It was someone famous said this. Like 99 times I failed, and the 100th time was when it all took off. So
Someone so famous you can't remember who it is. See what fame will get you?
no, it's not that. I took away what was necessary from that was keep going, keep trying, don't give up. That was the message.
Press your way.
Press your way.
The Facebook Live portion of the program is hard to share. Well, let me put it this way: you can't share it until it's live. So we've done several things. Normally, what we do something with what I call the big share. So we share the program once we're on. There's only two ways you can do this: either share before you, like once you're on, you start sharing,
Right.
which is what most people do. But the professionals share it during a countdown period or a slate. So I was going to share during the slate, but I didn't want the slate up. That's the one thing, well, how long is the slate going to be? So I put a counter on there. But I didn't give myself enough time. I figured it's been counting down for 2 hours. But of course, I didn't want to put it up till the last 5 minutes. Then the 5 minutes collapsed because we had, I didn't really do the audio check. There's always something I forget. The audio check I didn't do before we came on. Then, of course, I gave myself 3 minutes, but then I couldn't get this. I couldn't get it on Facebook. Then finally, it came up on Facebook. By that time, I had 30 seconds to share to like 15 different sites, and the window collapsed.
Well, I mean, you can always share afterwards, right? Or we can encourage our viewing audience out there to go ahead and share for us.
Problem with that is the viewing audience doesn't know we're on because I haven't shared it yet. See the dilemma. And therein is the dilemma.
Okay.
Unless people are longtime viewers, like the people who are tuned in now, people don't know that we're live until we share it.
Okay. Well, Facebook will alert people to the fact that you're live. Like it gives you an alert. So there are people who they know that we're on right now.
That's true.
Yeah.
I have like 3,500 friends.
Right.
So in theory,
all of them just received a notification that you are
what's
live.
that say about my Facebook friends? One 1% of 1% of a percent are tuning in right now.
They're coming in. They're coming in.
Coming
As
slowly
people,
but surely.
Yeah. Scroll through their feed.
Scroll through the feed.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about fire alarms and the necessity of having them in schools.
We do have a special guest in the studio today, so
Right.
I'm excited.
And we're
about
not going to talk just about fire alarms, but the kind of fire alarms for this time in which we live.
I don't think we think about that a whole lot.
The parents in Sandy Hook think about it every day.
Sure.
The parents down in Florida think about it every day. In California, they think about it every day.
No, it's big.
I would venture to say there are officials in Hartford thinking about it now, but they're trying to think about how to get out of doing the right thing.
Well, that is today's show. That is today's show. Open Forum Thursday.
Open Forum Thursday, we're going to talk about public safety. Now, in Milford Mall tonight, they had another young people take over the mall and fight. They had to close the mall.
I did hear about that.
They also closed the mall. Well, they didn't close the mall, but they had a fight at West Farms. Yeah.
Interesting. I wouldn't thunk West Farms, but
West Farms is no different than any other mall. They have young people there. And sometimes young people get mischievous. They're young people.
yes,
Were you ever mischievous when you were young?
I was. But that's another show.
We're going to talk about mischievous and youth. No. But all of this correlates and ties into what we're going to be talking about, over the next couple of minutes here.
For sure.
All right.
Yeah. Open Forum Thursday.
So Open Forum Thursday right here at accesstv.org and, of course, on Facebook. And we encourage you to tune in and join us. So stick and stay. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. It's Open Forum Thursday with your host, Nyesha McCauley, and, of course, my wife, Nyesha. We'll be right back. Stick and stay.
Hi,
My name's Nyesha McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and
Well,
you're watching accesstv.org.
Changing times.
Well, welcome back. Post Christmas for everyone out there who celebrates Christmas.
It seems like it was a long time ago, but it was yesterday.
It was yesterday. Yesterday. Yep.
Wow. All right, well, let's jump into the issue at hand, and that is, of course, the fire alarm system at the new Weaver High School campus.
Yes.
Because it's not Weaver High School, it's the Weaver High School campus,
Granby Street.
which hosts
Three
or two?
Three schools.
Oh, 3 schools.
Well, JMA and High School Inc. combined prior to moving over to the campus. But, yeah.
JMA and High School Inc. are one school, or are they
Right.
2 schools?
They're one. It's one. They really joined together when the school was back
On Tower,
Tower.
before it became Milner.
Right.
So the Tower Avenue JMA school is now Milner, and Milner is now the original Milner, which was the Vine Street School, is now an emergency shelter for those who are dealing with the outside cold.
The building.
The building is.
Yes.
Right, but the school has its own code. See, this can get real deep, and if you watch the Hartford Board of Education meetings, you'll be able to see all of this stuff, and it's all out there, and it's all documented, and there's a lot of historical facts there. All right. But one thing that is certain is the necessity for safety in the schools. And we live in a time when one subject people don't like to talk about, but it's very, very relevant, is school safety and school shootings, where a perpetrator attacks a school. And unfortunately, any school in the country is susceptible. Not only schools, but malls, churches, places where people gather. And so schools are high value, high value target, if you will, because there's a lot of defenseless children there, which mean a lot to the people in the community and to their parents. So, you can have from a terrorist type attack to just somebody who has an ought or has lost their mind, but it's become not the new normal, but not shocking to hear of a school that is being overtaken by a perpetrator of some sort. So we're going to talk about that right now with our special guest. I want to welcome to our set Arnold. Arnold, how are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you doing, Stan? Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming in. This is a huge step of courage, I would say, just you being here talking about the subject, because there's you're a concerned, he's a concerned citizen, but he's also a professional in the field and a contractor.
Yes.
Could you just tell everyone a little bit about your background and how you came to work on the Weaver High School project?
Okay, so I was an electrician all my life, working in the unions. But when the Hartford program with the schools, I got into my own business doing electrical work. And you bid on the jobs and you end up winning the bid if you're the low bidder. And I was a low bidder on a particular part of Weaver, which was the sound system and the clock and PA. And the way I came about noticing that the fire alarm was not what was designed by the engineer at bid time, when I was testing my sound system, if you have sound going on in a particular classroom or in the auditorium, the fire alarm system, if it goes off, mutes the sound system. And the design called for a voice message. So when I was testing my system, I didn't hear the voice message. All I heard was horns. So I brought it to the attention of the general contractor that, I think there's a problem with the system, because I've done many other schools in Hartford that has a complete voice evacuation system, which means that at different location, you could reach into the fire alarm system, grab a mic and make an announcement. It would mute the horns and the speakers and the lights going, and you could make a voice announcement saying, it's a false fire alarm, or do not leave the building, there's a hurricane outside.
Okay.
Or, the building is safer, don't run out because you heard the fire alarm system go off.
Right.
Or stay locked in your room. What happened in Florida was the shooter pulled a fire alarm pull station, and as the kids was running out, he was shooting at them. So in a case like that, a Weaver, you would have the same thing, because you would only be able to hear a voice message in right now two locations, the auditorium and the cafeteria. The rest of the building, the hallways, you won't be able to make an announcement to tell the kids to stay inside. So they could potentially be running out the building towards a mass shooter and staying into the locked building where they'll be safer.
Right. Right.
And if there's not a fire.
And that kind of announcement generally would come from one of the administrators, like the principal or something like that.
So there should be, on the original design, there was 7 different locations where they could pick up the mic and make an announcement. Right now, there's only 2 locations, where it was the auditorium and the cafeteria. And actually in the main office, they could make an announcement. There is a PA system in the building that you could make announcements through. But when the fire alarm's going on, you can't hear the PA. And the PA will not override the fire alarm because the fire alarm is a life safety and it's monitored. If the speaker system is broken, you'll know every day, hour or the minute, you'll know that there's a problem with the PA. You'll never know until you're ready to make an announcement, and then your announcement does not come through because there could have been a blown fuse or, and the system is not monitored. So you can't rely on a system that's not, you don't know if it's going to run when you need it.
Right, right. So Weaver's open though.
It is.
It's open, and is this something that was signed off on for it to be open?
So it was, and I did speak to the fire marshal, and what he said, he signed off on it because it meets code to a 2005 code. But the design was to the latest code, which he did not see the documents when he inspect. So the city of Hartford, when they inspect, I guess, on fire alarm system, they inspect to the latest code that they have adopted, not necessarily what the building was designed to. And if they had inspected on a later code, then it was still not, I'm still not sure how, because on the 2005 code, there should have been a pull station at every door, exit doors, which all the new schools are taking them out because of what happened in Florida. So they're removing the pull stations by the doors and putting it in areas where only a staff could pull the fire alarm.
Right.
Not anybody could pull it.
Right.
Now you say, so the design is not necessarily, let me rephrase it. The code is not necessarily the design. I mean, there would seemingly be, if you ordered a product and the product had, just to oversimplify this, if I order a black car and the car that comes to the house is like Charlotte red, and then the dealer tells me, well, it's a car, what do you want?
Well, it goes a little bit deeper than that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
If you order a car and
Right.
you ordered a Cadillac,
Mm-hmm.
and the dealer drops off a Toyota, they're both cars,
Mm-hmm.
but you paid for a Cadillac and you got a Toyota.
Oh, so this isn't something as this. So this, it's not like you have the same thing, just slightly different. This is nowhere near what you should have.
Yes, yes. Wiring, devices, the capability of making announcements, for a lockdown situation, capability of doing a lockdown for dress drills. You won't have the same.
So you should be able to make an announcement over the fire system,
Over the fire system because it's a life safety system,
a life safety system.
unlike the PA system. The PA system that's in the school, you could make general announcements. You could call a student out of a classroom. You can't use, by code, you're not really supposed to use a fire alarm system to call a kid out of a classroom because it broadcasts throughout the school.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a separate PA system for that type of announcements where you could actually call a particular classroom, and there's no PA systems in the stairwell. So if there's a fire alarm lockdown and you need to notify kids that's walking in the stairwell, you won't be able to do it because there's no PA in the stairwell. And in the auditoriums and a couple other large locations, they actually have switches that would turn off the PA system when they're having performance. So if you're relying on the PA system to tell the kids to stay in and the PA system was turned off because they're having a event, then none of those people would hear it in different
Okay.
areas.
So you could, in theory, well, not in theory, I'm sure this will be in practice in multiple instances. The auditorium could be filled with people, but the PA system turned down so as not to interrupt or interfere with the activities going on in the auditorium.
And other classrooms too, like our principal's office have they could turn it down or turn it
Mm-hmm.
off. There's multiple locations where there's switches that could be that could shut off the PA system.
Okay. So then an announcement could be made that no one hears in the auditorium because the volume's turned all the way down.
But then they would rely on the fire alarm system where the auditorium and the cafeteria are on the voice system, but the rest of the school isn't.
Okay, so the rest of the school isn't on the system, but there are people in the rest of the school.
In the
Because
hallways,
everyone isn't always.
in the auditorium.
More people are in the school than there are in the auditorium on a daily basis.
Yes, I would definitely say so.
So in your doing the work on this job, this came to your attention, and then from there you alerted the like there's a chain of command, or is
So I went to the general contractor, alerted him because I thought it was just a simple mistake where, you know, the contractor that was doing it missed something or somebody just oversight.
right?
The response I got, I wasn't happy with, where they told me that was the engineer's intention, which the document that was put out for bid was clearly not the intention. So I reached out to numerous people in the city of Hartford, the council people, send them emails. I went to the school construction board,
Building committee. School building committee.
Right.
committee, and I made my presentation there, and still didn't get any response. And this has been going on for months and months. So then I've actually highlighted the documents and sent it to numerous people, and then I actually brought it to the African Alliance, and then they sent it out to the state, I think, and a couple other people. And I've reached out to senators, and because it's really important to protect the kids. I mean, my kids are not in Hartford, but I still have kids.
Right.
And it wasn't a money issue because the city paid for the system already, because it was put out to bid for a complete. So it's not a money issue where they skimped on paying for the system. It's just somehow it got skimped in how it was installed.
Okay.
So the system the city paid for is not the system that's in there.
It's not. And I have done the fire alarm at Capitol Prep. I've done it at West Middle and a couple other schools, but they all have a complete voice system like it was designed.
right.
So the design was right. It was just when it was installed, it wasn't installed right. And I'm not sure how or who is responsible for the actual install. I mean, for the not meeting this plans and specs. But I've been reaching out to make sure it gets corrected, because I think it's very important. The school is brand new. They've spent millions of dollars on the school, on TVs in the hallways, and smart boards in each classroom, and then to skimp on a life safety thing, I think is very wrong. I mean, and I think any of the parents at Florida, if you could save one kid from something like that, I don't think money would have been an object to fix something that's not correct.
Well, see, this would be like quote unquote red flag. So this would be like here's the first red flag issue concerning a safety issue at a school, and people are like looking the other way, making excuses. Then the red flags start building up, and then when something happens, now we have a problem. But there shouldn't be problems in many of these cases, because there are red flags all over the place that people in positions of authority to correct these things don't pay attention to. And then you get people like Chris Murphy and Senator Blumenthal, and Senator Murphy and Senator Blumenthal will be on television talking about this, that, and the third.
Right.
Have you reached out to any of our state Chris, Senator Murphy or Senator
I don't
Blumenthal?
have their emails, and I don't know how to get in contact with them. Like I said, I'm just a contractor. I'm not very involved in politics. But once it came to my attention, everybody that I knew that I've been in contact with, I went to the school. I actually went to City Hall council meeting
Yeah,
a
okay.
couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And presented the documents to them because I thought maybe they weren't getting my emails.
Mm-hmm.
So I give them the hard copy of the documents and they were going to look into it. I did hear that last Friday there was a state inspection at Weaver with the state fire marshal. But I wasn't invited. I heard about it after the fact, but I would have thought, since I brought it to everybody's attention, they would want me there to maybe point out
What you noticed,
what I knew or what I
right.
noticed, and maybe tell me I'm wrong or or I don't know what I'm talking about. But this is what I do, so I do know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Right.
Right. The other thing that strikes me is how, the community really fought for Weaver, like the parents and community leaders and everyone in Hartford. Weaver was going to be shuttered at one time, but everyone rallied around and they really wanted Weaver, right? And so they went and fought for Weaver. They fought for the funding for Weaver. And so to hear that this hard fought effort, like, so you're saying we paid for it, like taxpayers, the city of Hartford, all of us paid for it, but we didn't get the product that we paid for. That to me is what's very concerning about this as well.
And I mean, a lot of times we don't always get what we paid for on stuff that you could ignore, like maybe you don't get a granite floor,
Right.
or which is not a life safety issue. So you could say,
Live with
we
that.
had to cut back on the budget, so we didn't get the floor you wanted. But in Weaver, there is some. It's a beautiful school if you're walking through. It's a great job. There is rooms with ceilings just in those rooms. That's $40,000 for a ceiling in a room. I mean, so the money was spent, and the money was spent for the fire alarm. They just didn't get what we paid for.
And that's tragic. I mean, it's not like because it's an urban school or because it's Weaver, because it's in Hartford, they didn't want to spend the money, so they cut back. The money was allocated, the money was spent, the designs were there. It should be state of the art. It should be the latest and greatest, but that's not what's there. And so ultimately, the question will be, what will be done about it? Because, how long are they going to wait before they determine that it needs to be fixed? And I don't consider, it meets code.
So,
fix.
that's what I'm thinking about next, Arno. Like, so what is the problem with? And this is kind of like a devil's advocate kind of question. What is the problem with the response? Well, it meets code. Like, should we? I guess is we're not satisfied with that, with the fact that it's code.
Well,
or like,
I mean,
with that
personally,
response.
I am not satisfied because it meets code, but it don't give you the maximum protection for what's going on in schools now. Sandy Hook was just redone, actually before Weaver, and they spent more money there because of what happened there. But you have the potential to have it in any school. And why would you build a new school and not get the best? Well, they did design it to the best fire alarm system that you could have in the school. It just wasn't installed. And if I wasn't there with my doing the sound system, nobody probably would have ever known about it till something happens, because it seemed like nobody wants to address the issue. And if I didn't bring it up by accident, then I wasn't even. It was happened to be a day that one of my guy was on vacation, and I had to fill in for him to test the sound system. And that's when I realized it wasn't to what was actually a City of Hartford standards, because I did, Capital Prep, I did the fire alarm at West Middle, and they all had a complete voice evacuation system. Port Middle, that was done years prior.
Right.
So why would you build a new school and not, follow the bid documents and get what you paid for.
And Hartford's always been very, very whatever it takes, particularly when it comes to things like fire, because of the history of, the circus fire that was here. So Hartford's always had very stringent fire, requirements. But as you mentioned, this is a life safety
Yes.
issue
Yes.
as it pertains to the building. Is that the right phraseology?
The fire alarm is considered a life safety system.
Okay, life safety system. Okay, and so the life safety system that we paid for
Right.
is not in place.
Right. And also taking into consideration the current climate that we live in, where tragedies are happening in schools, and to not take that into account or be satisfied. Like, no one should be satisfied with the answer, well, it meets code, because code doesn't live up to the standard of the safety.
The 2005
Five.
code.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
2018 and
It's
new
not
code.
meeting the standard that we need for our reality, our lived reality right now today. It's not meeting that standard.
It's not meeting the standard because what was in the design
Met the standard.
isn't been installed.
Installed.
Right.
The standard, it should be there and it isn't. So you built the room, there's supposed to be 3 exit doors, there's only one. So we can't get as many people out of the room as we should be able to. Well, there's still a door. No, yeah, there's a door, but there should be 3 doors. Why aren't there? Where are the other doors? And what are you going to do about it?
Right.
And so, well, don't worry about it. So it sounds to me like this is turning into, I guess I'd be blunt, like, the CYA, someone's trying to cover somebody's behind because something is not as it should be.
Is that a fair assessment, Arnold?
Yeah,
Or, I mean, like, is it, so you brought it to the attention to a lot of people, and where is it now? Like, is it being...
Like I said, they had an inspection Friday, and I wasn't invited, so I don't know where it is, if it passed inspection or it didn't pass, and I'm assuming if the state fire marshal was going to inspect just to a 2005 code, it would pass again, and their response would be it passed code, and it's not a code issue. It's what taxpayers paid for.
Right.
What's the best protection for the kids with what's going on in schools and throughout the country, and I mean I think Weaver is a population of 600 kids and teachers and it could be,
Right.
and my thing is, why not give the best protection? If nothing ever happens, you could sleep at night saying, you know what, I did the best I could, I put the best system in the school to protect the kid that was designed, and something happened, and it might save one life, or,
Right.
I mean, I think the parents in Florida, if one of those kids would save, they would, I don't think they would have a problem spending the money to fix it.
Right.
And I think it should be fixed and give the kids the best protection, like every other school in the state or every other public building in the state that's newly renovated, have a complete, I'm doing a fire alarm system in South Windsor, a Terry full voice evac system. I am on the project on Park Street, the library, very tiny, full voice evac system. So I don't understand why not a Weaver with so many more kids in there.
Right. And something that we ordered and paid for.
Yeah.
So what would the remedy be?
It would be to fix it and put in
in the one that we
Yeah,
ordered.
yeah,
Okay. Or I'm saying we as like
the taxpayers.
taxpayers
Right.
put in the one that we ordered.
It's technically our school.
and the parents that have their kids in there.
Right.
I mean, I think they should. I mean, I don't know if they watch your show but you know, if they do, they should be really concerned, knowing that they could have had the maximum protection for their kids, and you know, have a 2005 code compliant fire alarm system, and it's 2019, and the school's going to be there for another 20 years before renovation. And,
Right.
you know.
Right. And there's other buildings in the city that will have this.
Yes.
So it's, you know, it's like.
So MLK is under construction now. Complete voice evacuation system throughout the building. And pretty much the same design that was at Weaver. But they're actually putting in the system that was designed and spec'd.
And Weaver technically is not finished.
That's right.
So it's not like this is an old school or the projects are done. No, the school is technically still under
There's another phase,
under
phase 4.
construction. So, you know, it needs to be what it's supposed to be, so that we can have the level of.
So what happened on phase 4, and they've changed the specs on phase 4 to match what's in phase 2 with a lesser fire alarm system.
Wow.
Okay, so this is
Wow.
now this is where it gets critical, because now I'm telling y'all, it's going to turn into who knew what when, because the mistake is just a mistake, but the cover up of the mistake, that potentially becomes criminal. And so I'm going to reach out to Senator Murphy and Senator Blumenthal, because those guys are always, particularly Senator Blumenthal, is always talking about, you know, the need, and Senator Murphy talking about, you know, gun control and well, you know, here's a way to be intervening before, you know, preemptive measures, so that we don't have to have a conversation after the tragedy. We implement things that can prevent the tragedy from ever happening as best we can. All right. You have doors that when one person comes in, they can't get into the other door until the outer door lock closes.
Right.
Then you can see who's in there. Then you can let them through. Okay, there are ways. Violence can be prevented in many cases if you have systems in place. Our children are worth protecting. That's not a question. They're worth spending the money. That's not a question. The question is, why is there a system, as one caller simply put it, a complete voice evacuation system is not on the Weaver campus, but needs to be. And it isn't because what was in the original design isn't there. And so now we hear that phase 4 is being, you know, stepped down
to cover up.
To seemingly cover up for why it isn't in phase 1, 2, and 3. Which means then you're putting an inferior system in phase 4. See how it gets worse by the second. So then the inferior system is going to go in when the superior system is being put in buildings that are currently under construction. Yet an inferior, and it doesn't make sense. The only thing that makes sense is someone made a mistake, and rather than to fix it, there's a desire to cover it up.
And if that is not correct, call us, call Arnold, and tell us otherwise. If that's not the case.
I've been called disgruntled because I did not win the bid at Weaver, but just to keep it on record clear, I was not the second bidder or the third bidder. There was 2 other bidders after the low bidder that so it wasn't even like it was my contract to win, and that I'm upset about not getting the contract. It has nothing to do with that. And actually my wife, before I came here today, she's like, well, you need to drop it because you're going to have backlash from your business.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's more important than just me knowing something and not saying something that could affect the kids.
Right.
Right.
So he's not disgruntled, he's concerned. And when political figures start calling concerned citizens that speak out disgruntled, we have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say publicly, you're gonna have a problem with me. I'm not the person who's gonna call you up while you wear your Bluetooth, sitting on council. I'm gonna come down there. I'll sign a petition for y'all removal, because it is your responsibility to do the right thing by the children, the first level of constituency in this city. Because that's what you all ran for office for, to protect and represent the citizens. There's no other reason for you to be in office. You're not there for your careers. You're not there for your wallet. You're only there to represent the citizens. That's the only reason. Now, there may be some other benefits, but if you can't represent the citizens and protect the children of Hartford, then you are useless and have no purpose being in office. I will work night and day to remove you. I'm one of them people who's dedicated at a cause. I'll work to remove you. So something needs to be. This doesn't make any sense.
I think, definitely I applaud you, Arnold, for, bringing this to the attention of residents as something. As a parent who has a child that may be going to Weaver, I certainly, in a few years actually, I certainly appreciate having this knowledge. But I would like to give the benefit of the doubt to a lot of our representatives, Senator McCauley and Representative McGee. Those gentlemen in particular were on the front line really fighting for Weaver. So I would love to hear from them and where they stand on this issue, because those two in particular, and actually Matt Ritter also, our state delegation really fought for the funding for Weaver and got it. So I would think that they would be on the front line fighting for this as well, because they fought for the money. And if we bought it and it was there, we should receive it. So I will hold benefit to those in our state delegation that really fought for the funding, got Weaver up and running and built, to now come to the table and say we need to rectify this situation.
Well, you're kinder than I am. Because as far as I'm concerned, if constituents can speak up, constituent representatives can speak up. This is a political will issue. This does not require deep think. It doesn't require deep study. It requires a phone call made to the right person to ask what's going on and demand an answer. If you don't get an answer, then action. All right. It doesn't take, when the investigation is tantamount to justice denied, fix denied. What's it going to take? The 737 MAX action before fixes are done? Because we clearly know something's wrong. So now what will be done about it? And if the what's going to be done is nothing, then make that plain, and then we as constituents can adjust accordingly.
And I mean, if they think I'm disgruntled, and even if I was, say I'm disgruntled because of whatever reason, is the proof I gave you backs up what I'm saying, disgruntled or not.
Right.
And if you need to, get me in a meeting, in a sit-down meeting with the engineer, the architect, or whoever, and we could, with the city council that might not know construction, and say, show me where you say Arnold's wrong, or Arnold, you show me the document that say they are wrong. Right. And that's the end of it. But I still can't even get that meeting.
You're either right or wrong.
Yeah. Disgruntled or not.
Right.
Yes.
The information is the information is the information. The information doesn't change because of, he's 7 foot tall. What does that have to do with anything?
Right.
Nothing.
Right, and I think the beauty of your comment there about being disgruntled, it's like, that's a personal reference to an individual, and that's not what we're debating. We're debating the facts, and so we're saying put the facts on the table, and they will speak for themselves. It doesn't have to be personal. It's not personal.
Yeah.
It's not personal. Let's put the facts on the table.
And if I'm wrong, I'll be the first guy to say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. You proved me wrong. Here's my document. Show me your document.
Right.
Let's compare. And one of us is going to be wrong. It's not a in between. It's right or wrong. And if I'll go to say as far as that if I'm wrong, I would be willing to fix their problem if I was found wrong.
Right.
And give them the system they want.
Right.
That sounds like someone who pretty much sure he knows what he's talking about.
And it's not a case where, and that should never be the response when you are bringing to light something that you are concerned about. That should never be the response that you get attacked for bringing information forward, and that typically is what happens. I know parents certainly are sitting in this seat all the time when they bring forward information that's happening in the schools to their kids, but the finger is pointed back at them. Instead of addressing what the actual problem is, the finger is just pointed to say, there's this angry parent here, when that's not what I brought to the table. I brought to the table an issue, and that never gets addressed. But my personality and everything else is under fire, as opposed to the issue that I brought forward. So.
And then there was one person that was running for mayor that I was at Weaver, and I had brought this to his attention. And I'm in my work vehicle, and he did not recognize my work vehicle, so I called him on his phone. And he takes his phone, he sees my number, and he hangs up. And I could see him because I'm sitting right there. I won't say his name now, but he knows who he is. And I wasn't disgruntled then, because if I was disgruntled, I probably would have been a lot more upset than just laughed at. Look at him watching his phone and hanging up on me. And a couple of minutes later, sees me and says, hey, nice seeing you, can we talk about this?
That's too funny. Well, Arnold first came to me about this, like in June or July, or it was some time ago.
When you were videotaping for me at Weaver.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it to you.
He mentioned, and attempts have been made since then, regularly, to bring this to the attention of officials. But no one seems to care enough to make it right. So now it's going to really be a matter of, in my opinion, who knew what when, and what did you do about it? So
for sure. What
did you know? When did you know? And what did you do about it? Because the timeline is, something is wrong somewhere.
Right. And the timeline is documented.
Right.
It was way before the school even opened.
Yeah.
Where I brought it to the attention.
All right. So is there pressure to get the school open on time? There was no pressure to get that stadium open on time. Right? So, you had to get rid of the contractor, bring in a new contractor. But here, the school was nowhere near ready. There wasn't no one firing contractors up there. So, everything in Hartford that happens is a political thing. This is a city of political decisions. Every decision in Hartford is a political decision. So who knew what, when, and what did they do about it, and why wasn't something done?
That's the question on the table. And I think what's next? What's next? What's next for everyone?
I've gone as far as I could, and nobody's listening. So, I mean,
So he's here.
yeah.
I invited him to come, and are you willing? He's more than willing, and he's here. And we made mention that he would be here, and he's here. And we follow
I think
up.
it's time for everyone to start asking questions. Arnold brought this to the attention of us, and we're sharing it with folks out there. So now it's time for everyone to start asking questions about the fire system at Weaver.
And I did get a call from one of the Sandy Hook parents, and they wanted to know, I guess somehow they heard about it, but I haven't gone, to them yet, or I haven't really answered. They wanted to meet and sit down, but I've been kind of busy, and I didn't really want to put that kind of burden on them. So,
Right.
They've lost kids, and it was Christmas time, so I've kind of let that go. And my wife's telling me, let it go, because it's going to be a financial impact on us if I keep pushing the issue. But it's still an important issue where sometimes I do ignore my wife when she gives me good advice.
Now you all know I try to give life lessons here. This is never. When a husband is ignoring his wife to do the right thing, you know it's serious. Right, honey bun?
Yes, absolutely. That is actually fact.
So,
He's risking.
he's not concerned. Arnold is not concerned about about being labeled a disgruntled. He has more weightier issues to
That's
be
right.
concerned about.
That's right.
With his wife,
I
trust me.
see her every day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate you coming in and sharing this information, and we will do our level best to make sure that we push this issue far and wide, and we will make phone calls as well to see if we can get an answer. And and then I'll reach out to colleagues in the news media and see if they've heard anything and can press for an answer.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm thinking to whom much is given, much is required. Now we all know we are all now required to advocate, like this. We're not talking about a fire system. We're talking about the safety and well-being of our children. That's really what we're talking about. And so let's do something about it because we can.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for coming in, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New
I'm
Year.
gonna go see my wife now.
You have a great husband. He's a good man.
Yes.
He's a good man.
Big heart. Big heart.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, sir. And we will see you soon.
Okay. Hopefully you get it fixed.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, my friends, stick and stay. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back with open forum and your phone calls or your comments, because we don't take phone calls. Your comments. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.
I'm a parent at Annie Fisher STEM magnet school, and before it became a magnet school, it was a community school, and that's again where I started advocating for my children coming into the school system, and then it transitioning over to a magnet school. So what I can offer, or parents coming in or going into the school system, advocate for your children. This program, Hartford Parent University, is a perfect program to be a part of because they teach you your parental rights, and if you're not involved, you will become involved once you become familiar with what your rights are and how you can advocate for your kids and assisting them with their education. If you want to go ahead and go far, you want your children to succeed, this is, like I said, the best program to attend so that they can go ahead and have a better education. And if, by any chance the administrative at the school isn't listening, become a member of the Hartford Parent University, and this is where your voice will be heard and all your concerns, just like the rest of us parents. We are a part of something, and we are making a difference in the community of Hartford. So just want to say thank you.
Okay, my friends, welcome back. It is Open Forum Thursday. What do you think?
Very troubling to hear the lengths to which people go to not do the right thing is always troubling. So that's
yeah, people will go to they'll go to the furthest lengths to cover up what I guess they perceive as something that's going to get them in trouble. This is an
Right.
age-old issue of resolving conflict by getting rid of those who present, witness to such things.
for sure. It's not new, but that's why there's advocates. That's why you have advocates.
Ta-da! All right, yeah. So, hey, it is what it is, and so we'll see what happens. I have the print, and I have all of the information. It's just you can't really, in a presentation like this, it's very difficult to show it on screen and walk you through it. But I sent a copy of it to the Hartford Courant like 2 weeks ago or so. I did send a copy to Bruce Rubenstein, the Sea Audit Commission. I'm going to send copies to other entities and see. I think I'll send a copy to the watchdog in chief, which is Kevin Brookman, and see. And then also we'll reach out to our two federal constituent representatives in the Senate, and see where we go from there.
100%. No, this is something that it's not like the argument is not being made that we need more money or anything like that. The argument is actually, no, we had the money, we paid for it, we're just not in receipt of what it is that we ordered. So this, to me, is like you were saying before, it's a simple fix.
It's a simple fix. We ordered a train with 8 cars and all we have is an engine. Where's the rest of this train?
Right.
Where's the rest of the system?
Right. It's a simple fix. And so my expectation is that a simple fix should not take that long to be resolved. And so therefore this is not something that we should, the next time we're on the air talking about this, we should be given an update that it's fixed. Like it's that kind of thing.
Well, I don't think that the fix isn't simple. Acknowledging the fix is. Acknowledging that there's a problem and it will be fixed. That's simple. The fix isn't simple, which is why they're covering their behind. Because the fix is
putting in
the right system, which is not a simple fix because the wires that are in there now are not the correct wires for the system because the system has to be shielded. The wires have to be shielded, which means you have to rewire the entire system. It may not be practical to fix the system until the summer when there's no kids in the building. So my understanding is that the fix is, there's a reason why they do these things during the build-out.
Right. Do it right the first time.
Do it right the first time. Do it
motto of construction, right?
Do it right the first time.
Measure twice, cut once. Is that?
Measure once, then cut, then measure.
Measure
twice, cut,
cut
once. So that you make sure you have the right measurement. Well, I thought that said 15 feet. 18 feet. We're 3 feet short.
But I think the weightier issue in which Arnold was really trying to get across is because this happens, and the reason why it bothers me is because this happens in every area of our life here in this city, where everyone is sort of demanding that you lower your expectations, because the response you get is it's code, and so like, go away and
Right.
don't worry about it, you silly resident constituent person.
Don't make
Don't
a fuss
fuss
about
at
it.
it. Right.
Just it meet the code.
Right.
So you ain't got to worry. We're lucky to have a fire alarm.
Right. And this in every area of life in Hartford, this is like a typical response now, where it's like, you're lucky to have
You're lucky to have a basketball court.
Right.
Don't ask them for nothing, because if you do, then maybe they won't even let you have the basketball court there.
Right. So I say it's time out for that kind of acceptance of I'm being asked to lower my standards when we fought.
Mediocrity in Hartford. Mediocrity is a target. It's a threshold. There's an expectation of mediocrity in Hartford, so everyone is willing to settle for less because they think they've achieved something.
Right. That's sad.
And it's hard
That's
to break
sad.
people out of that.
It really is.
It's very, very hard to break people out of that. Very, very, trust me when I tell you, it is very hard to break people out of the settling. But that is not that. It's not that inexplicable when you consider that Hartford is the fourth poorest city of its size in the country, and 50% of the adults in Hartford are functionally illiterate. So if you have a city that's very poor, where people don't read, can't read, all they can do is settle. And rather than to push back on that and fix it and demand high, all right, you don't have to be able to read to demand better.
Right. It's about your expectations. That comes down to expectations. Like, I may be poor, but that doesn't mean I have a lesser quality of life. My standards are the same.
Right. Poor is a financial status. Rich is a financial status. Has nothing to do with your expectations. Has nothing to do with your quality of life. Has nothing to do with what you demand. It's a financial status. Doesn't have anything to do with your intelligence.
No. So this really, to me, is a conversation about that, because the response that it's code is saying, take what you got and don't complain about it.
My response would be, fortunately, it is code. Unfortunately, it isn't what we paid for.
Right.
So, find a way to give us what we paid for.
Right. And for everyone who talks about putting kids first, this is an example of when your actions really do have to speak louder than your words.
Right. And here comes the other question. All right. Clearly, they were willing to spend the amount of money that was necessary for Hartford as an urban area. One can't make the one can't make the claim, well, they don't want to do right by Hartford because it's quote unquote black and brown city.
Right.
If this error were in another part of the state, would they fix it? If this error was in Avon, would it be fixed? If it was in Greenwich, would it be fixed?
Point in fact, if anyone right now goes downtown to where the Travelers Building is, where the red umbrella sits on the plaza, it is now all under construction. It had been constructed. Like they went through this whole rehab phase over there. It was part of the iQuilt thing. They lowered it down so you can kind of see across the plaza. It's not so much of a fortress. They really went through a lot of work.
The walkability
of it. The route, so there's a garage under that platform there. It was leaking. There's a leak down there, so it's leaking down onto the cars.
Yeah.
So the CEO said to the general contractor, you have to come back and fix it. Come back and fix it because
that's not what we paid for. The CEO of Travelers is not joking. The CEO of Travelers is no joke. Perhaps some of our elected officials are. Because their drum beats to a different drum major.
So the response wasn't, well, it's to code. No. Come back and fix it.
Right. They don't pass the... Well, we don't have anything to do. Now, the council don't have nothing to do with what the Board of Ed does. Well, we're not the ones responsible for that. That'd be the building committee. Well, that's the contract. Well, the State Board of Education, the one that really... Well, the State Board doesn't get involved in local construction. Well, local construction is signed off by... Well, the fire marshal, I just make sure... Everyone has an excuse. Because everyone got behind it trying to cover, but no one wants to do the right thing. Here, Arnold came in and has put his livelihood at risk to try to press the issue of the necessity of things being fixed. But in Hartford, if you press an issue to do the right thing, the first thing people do is, one, call you disgruntled. Second, they threaten whatever monies they think that they can squeeze out of you, threaten your job, rather than to fix a thing.
Yeah, so kudos to Arnold for coming on and talking about this, because it is unfortunately, the climate in Hartford is one where that type of behavior is not encouraged, where people don't want to come forward because of the repercussions that they're going to face. So I commend him for coming forward and putting his neck out there like that. And but now it's time for us to step up now that we are aware of it and make sure the right thing is done.
Absolutely. Well, my friends, we will stay here. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask, if you have any comments that you'd like to make, we'll give you just a few more minutes to do that. In the meantime, 2020 is right around the corner. And of course, with 2020, guess what's up? Elections. There are elections in 2020. And remember, elections have consequences. How do you define evil? Is it the pedophile school administrator or taxation without representation? Is it the gatekeeping community leaders who sell out the very people they are fighting for? Or is evil the politician that puts out lies and takes in cash? However you may classify evil, having to choose the lesser of two evils still leaves you with evil. No wonder so many people don't vote. It's time for constituents to flip the script and leave the plantation of party politics and free your political mind. All right, my friends, it's never too late to become an independent thinker. Vote your conscience instead of just being a slave to the party system. Doesn't really matter what party you're a member of. You got to think like, somebody that can think independently, make independent decisions, hold your elected officials accountable. Whatever party you're in, ask specific, smart questions of everybody running for office. The first question you can ask them if you live in Hartford is, what do you know about the alarm system at Weaver High School? Fire, a life safety issue. Life safety means that it's an essential component of the system, which is that building, in providing you ways to get out of there in case of an emergency, or oddly enough, staying in place, sheltering in place in case of an emergency. All right, critical issues that you should be more than well aware of in the city of Hartford and beyond. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think that's it.
All right.
All right, I think that's it. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Three Kings Day, Happy Hanukkah. Whatever
we'll
your
be back
tradition is.
next Thursday.
We'll be back next Thursday. It'll be a new year. 2020 will be upon us, and we will be ready to rock and roll. Dr. Bowen, Noel, Karen Lewis. Who else was tuned in here tonight? Former Speaker Jim Amon, Raphael, Jeffrey Clark, Charles Barrow, Stephen Merzian. All right, I think that's it, honey.
All right. Well, no, this was a great open forum to talk about all things Hartford that we love and fight for.
All right, sounds good. My friends, Happy New Year to you all. We'll see you next year right here, same time, same place, next Thursday at 10. Ciao, ciao, ciao.